pressure on points. In fact, it looked like they just came and sat with the person on the mat. Now, over time, I realized it almost didn't matter what was wrong with the person. Bad back, same thing. Headache, same thing. Gut dysbiosis, upset stomach, same thing. Diarrhea, same thing. And I went to Pakru and I was like, what's the deal? I got to do 10,000 things. You got me leaping over people and running around and picking them up and throwing them around and what. And then I watch Pichet over here work, and he goes over, takes a breath, sits down next to him for a minute, and then everybody says thank you, and he goes on. How can he do that? And that's therapy, but I got to do all this leaping about. Lifting and pulling and pushing and struggling and adjusting and correcting and poking and prodding, and my clients crying and writhing, and it's like a wrestling match. My sessions look like a wrestling match. Pichet, Crew Pichet, Ajahn Pichet sessions look like, Om. I said, why isn't he doing everything? They had back pain. Why didn't they do the corrections? Why didn't they do the spinal rotation? Why didn't they do the back bend? Why didn't they do the forward bend? Why didn't they do the point release on the arms? Why didn't they do the reflexology on the feet? The freaking reason you go see, I shouldn't say that. That's one in the jar. I shouldn't say freaking and Buddha in the same sentence. The Emerald Buddha is the reclining Buddha. Emerald Buddha is the most sought after tourist experience. Number 2 is a reclining Buddha at Wat Po. The reason you go see the reclining Buddha at Wat Po is because the world's oldest and the world's largest ancient reflexology chart is on the bottom of the Buddha's feet. That's why you go there. That's what you go to see. The first time I went there, nobody else was there. That tells you how long ago that was. And Pakru Samai took me and explained the chart to me on the bottom of the Buddha's feet. And that's how I had my first lesson in reflexology, standing at the feet of the Buddha, literally at the feet of the Buddha, okay? So I'm looking at Ajahn Pichet. He's not doing the reflexology. He's not working all the points. He's not doing the 6 points, the 5 lines, the 4 points, the 3 arch points. He's not doing that. And Parker laughed. He laughed at me a lot. Something we had in common. I laughed at me. He laughed at me. We had that in common. Get it? So he goes, the most important part of healing treatment session, Ayurvedic protocol, is puja. Because healing, see, love is everywhere, which means healing is everywhere. There is nowhere that healing is not. It cannot be, by definition, in the world and not be near adjacent to love as a possibility. Healing is a practical expression of love. That's what healing is. All healing is an expression of love. So therefore, healing is not about the therapist or the doctor or the practitioner. You can't heal me. You can't heal me. You can't heal me. You can't heal me. Why? Healing is something that I receive from God. Healing is something that's about my life manifesto agreement between me incarnated in this life and Great Spirit. And the therapist, the doctor, the so-called healer is a facilitator. A facilitator. Just like if you drink a soda through a straw, how concerned are you really with the straw? The straw is an intermediary. All you're trying to do is get the juice. Just trying to get the juice. That's all. That's the only reason I'm using a straw. I'm trying to get the juice. Okay? So you don't really care about the straw. The straw is a tool. The straw is an intermediary. The straw is a vehicle. The straw is a circuit of capacitance. That's what the straw is. And I in respect to bringing healing to you, am the straw. I'm not that which moves through the straw. I'm not the source of that which moves through the straw. And I am not the destination of that which moves through the straw. And so, ultimately, the idea is that healing is a matter of agreement with Spirit. You need healing, you ask for healing, Spirit agrees to heal you, and then everything else is window dressing. And in fact, one teacher told me it this way: everything that we do on the matter table is a placeholder, is to occupy the mental attention of the ego long enough for the healing to manifest. In other words, really my job, facilitating you through yoga postures, in a way, is to gather your attention in a certain way, to gather resources in a certain way, and then sort of distract you from the real process of healing, which has nothing to do with how you sit or stand. Okay? Has nothing to do with pressure. How hard do you have to push to create a healing effect? Well, technically you don't even have to touch a client to create a healing effect. So pressure is not important at all. Deep tissue is a ridiculous misnomer. It's ridiculous. Even though I'll use the term sometimes, but from a point of view of actual practice, do I need to put deep pressure on someone to get them, to encourage them into a healing reaction or response? And the absolute answer is no. And the old people in Thailand taught me that you hardly have to touch a person, that in fact all you have to do is be with them in the right way. That in fact that is what a real doctor is, a real therapist is not a fixer-upper. A real doctor may be mechanically inclined, but there are no mechanics in healing. There is no knob that you can turn. There is no joint that you can lever. There is no handle that you can push or pull that will guarantee that a healing effect occurs. Not possible. There are intrinsics. There are elemental, energetic, emotional, spiritual, mental factors in all healing that cannot be quantified in the sense of weighed and measure as we conventionally weigh and measure things. And puja is the illustration of that. Pakru Samai says the reason our school has lasted 1,000 years is because we do this. Not because we're good at forward bends. Not because we know how to move the body artfully and gracefully in a dance-like fashion. That's not why the clinics and hospitals and practices this last 1,000 years. So the reason it's lasted 1,000 years is because of puja. Now I said puja is defined as prayer, okay? But actually there is no exact English translation of the word puja. Puja is a Sanskrit word, and puja is a Pali language word. There is no exact English translation of that concept, whatever that is, puja. So, but there are 5 that are closer than others. There are actually 64 different ways to define the word puja literally in the English language. 64. Most people know 1. Most yoga teachers might know 1. There's 64 literal translations. I deal generally with 5. Okay? So the first thing I want to translate the word puja into is process. The English word process. Okay, what is a process? Somebody tell me, what is a process? What's the definition of the word process? Speak up.
An orderly way of accomplishing something.
Okay, an orderly way of accomplishing something. Can anyone else give me enlightenment as to what the word process means? You've heard of it before, right? So what do you think the word means?
Methodical movement from one point to another.
How about let's say it a different way? I'll give you help, okay? The word process is slang, colloquial expression of the word process. To process, okay? Well, it means to start here and go there. A procession, processional, these all have the same root. It means you start here and go there. What's a processional? What's a wedding processional? You start in the back, you walk to the front. That's the processional. And when you're married, you walk from the front to the back. That's also part of the processional. Do you get it? All right. I'm going to make a cup of tea. The process of bringing water to a boil by way of heating it, however you do it, burning coal, stick, wood fire, gas stove, electric stove, propane, whatever you do, heating the water to bring it to a higher temperature, having prepared or processed herbs or plants, which we would refer to generically as tea. In other words, you got to get the tea leaves. Has anybody here ever picked tea? I picked tea. Noise picked tea. No, you don't, just stop. So, I have done this thing where you go out into the woods, you pick the green tea, the white tea, that's the fresh shoots on the green tea, on the mature plants, right? The new ones, the new leaves. You pick a handful or two of those, then you go back to your hut in the village and you make a fire with charcoal and you get a good fire going. Then you have a black pot. It used to be metal, shiny, but now it's not. Now it's black, jet black, thick coated carbon on the outside, this thick, because no one ever washes the outside of a pot. Why would you do that? It's ridiculous. You're just going to put it back in the fire. So the only part of the pot that's ever cleaned is the inside. And then you fill it with water, which you got out of the stream, which you want to boil anyway, because there's buffaloes there, and buffaloes pee in the stream, and there's leeches in the stream. So thank God for tea, we're going to boil the water. So you get the water from the stream, you put it in the pot, you get the handful of herbs that you got and you throw them in the pot and you boil the heck out of them. And then you have a bamboo strainer that the person you're with made for their tea, right? And you pour out of the bucket, out of the pot. Sometimes they even look like a teapot. Sometimes not, right? And as you pour it through the bamboo strainer, it strains out most of the leaves, not all of them. You always get leaves in your teeth, okay? And then you let it sit until it's not boiling anymore so it doesn't hurt you. And then you drink it. And so from the first idea of walking into the woods to collect the green tea leaves off of the plants. And by the way, tea farms in Thailand are permaculture. You know what? Thai farmers think they invented it. Because you can be in a tea farm and not know it. Because maybe you're attracted to the longan, or maybe you're attracted to the mongkut, or maybe you're attracted to the jackfruit, or maybe you're attracted to, you know, the 100 other things that are there, and the tea plants are what grows in the undergrowth in the whole farm, okay? So from the first thought to go out, to get the tea, to bring it back, to get the pot, to get water in the pot, to start a fire, to boil the water, to put the tea into the pot, to strain it into the cup, and they don't know how to make teacups in Thailand. I mean, they think they invented it, but honestly, they don't know how to make teacups because they just give you this ceramic thing with no handle, which always burns your fingers. Right? There's no handle. What's up with that? Why do teacups not have handles? They'll hand you a hot teacup that you can't hold because it's so hot and there's no handle. So anyway, you have then to let it sit until you don't do harm to yourself, enjoying the health benefits of white tea, which is unmature green tea, okay? And then you drink the tea. First gulp gets into your gullet, makes its way past your taste buds, into the gullet. It's a technical term. Okay? That is a process. Now, if I'm a tea drinker or a tea maker, and in fact some people do what they call tea ceremony. Even in Thailand, they do tea ceremony. And it's very elaborate. There's only one way to do it right. You got to turn the cup, and you got to whisk the ground tea, right? You know every step of the process backwards and forwards, and you know the difficulties, pros and cons of what will occur every step of the way, and you know where the tricky bits are. You can anticipate them ahead of time, and you know what the final result is supposed to look like, or taste like, or smell like, or the final step is not. This final step is the umami, enjoyment of what happens when that fresh green tea, the first bit of that fresh green tea, lands on your tongue and your mouth, and you have an emotional realization of truth that somehow you and tea are related. And the world is a better place because of that relationship.